Hey Shooby Doodlers, last week my mind was just completely blown by the Starship 3 launch. But more of that later, because now I am getting down to writing book 3 of Generation Moon. So I've finished book 2 and that's just sitting there, just sort of cooking away. And in fact, I went for a walk on Saturday with Mrs. Rayner, and I said to her, "Oh, can you remind me to put this little bit into book 2 so that'll make sense in book 3?" And I've completely forgotten what it was. So you really need to write these things down. I should have dictated it. It'll come back to me with a bit of luck. Mrs. Rayner will remind me. But this is a thing about a trilogy. I think that you've got to kind of keep the 3 things. It's quite elastic. You get a new idea here, but you have to set it up there. That's what I'm working on now. But that is a really boring thing to film, because I'll just be typing and sort of staring at the screen, and you don't want to see that. But I did that last week anyway. Go back to last week's video where I was just typing away, doing stuff on the screen. I was laying out pages for an old series of mine called Olympia, set back in BC. It's all about the Olympics. How this little boy Ollie in the Olympics wants to be an Olympic champion, and how he uses his belief in the gods and his devotion to the gods, and also the myths, and the heroes and all that kind of thing, inspire him to do better and sort of achieve great things in sport against his arch rival Spyro, who's a year older than him, and he shouldn't have to compete with him because he's a year older than him. So I've finished those, and they're all now up on Kindle. They were originally published by Orchard Books, and so I've got all the rights back, and I want to get them out there and available again. So look in the links down below if you want to go and see those on Amazon. So that's all done, and I can really concentrate now back on Generation Moon. And last week I went to a library where I met a school class who were year 6 here in the UK, which means they're about 11 years old. And I thought I would talk to them about Generation Moon and sort of show them how to draw the characters, that sort of thing. And I was explaining to them how the whole inspiration of this trilogy came about, in that I was listening to a podcast or something. It was a sort of Artemis coming up, and it suddenly dawned on me that children in classrooms today will grow up to work and live on the moon. And I explained this to these children, and suddenly, pew, I should think 7, 8 children suddenly sat up and wide-eyed. One down at the front was absolutely, oh my God. And so I started talking to them, said, would you go to the moon? Would you do that? Yeah. And this one girl was, when can I go? Let me do it now. Don't hold me back. Interestingly, it was the 2 girls were the most keen to do it. I was explaining how, once you set up a moon base, it isn't just high-flying astronauts and MIT engineers and people who are going to be going there. You're going to need cooks and cleaners and people to screw light bulbs into the ceiling, builders, whatever. So it's not just this sort of superhero astronaut kind of person that's going to be needed. It's going to be everyday kind of people. But this is one of the girls. I said to her, why do you think you would do that? She said, it's adventurous. And I said to you, that is the word. That is the word. I think if you're going up in a dragon, something like that, it's becoming pretty everyday. That's like a taxi going up to the space station. But I think if you're getting on board a starship now and heading off to the moon, you have to be a bit heroic. I think you have to pretty much assume you're not coming home again. And if you do, it's great. But you're going for the adventure on the full understanding that you may never come back for one reason or another. And that is heroics, I think. Whereas adventure, once there's a moon base set up and they say, we need cooks, we need cleaners, we need, we need builders, then you think, am I going to carry on cooking here? Am I going to do this? Am I going to carry on building on a building site? Or do I have a bit of an adventure and go off to the moon. And I think it's very, very similar to, thinking there's an advert, they're looking for builders in Abu Dhabi, to build the tallest building in the world. Yeah, let's go to see what it's all about and have the adventure of it. And I should think of that 7, there were 3 who were really, really keen. And as I say, one girl, she was saying, don't hold me back. How can I do it now? She just wanted to go. And I said, what about your parents? Oh, piff. So I explained how in the story, the space agency, they kind of get these orphan children who sort of show that they're clever, intelligent, or they have other skills. So my hero, Glenn, he has very good people skills. And I was explaining how, you need leaders as much as you need scientists and heroes. But that they were all orphans, so that they didn't have to get parental permission. It's just so confusing in a story, in a children's book. Roald Dahl always got rid of parents. He'd sort of get a hippopotamus and come and eat them up in the first paragraph. So you get them out of the way. So the space agency become their sort of legal guardians and allow them to go to space. If they really, really want to, they can always say no. So that's what I'm writing now. And I told this group, I think it was on Tuesday, and I said, I think the Starship might be launching on Thursday. It's all a bit, and I'd only just got news myself. So about a year ago, all sorts of things happened in my life. And one of them was Starship 1, the first Starship launch. And I was so imbued with this whole space thing because I've been writing the first book, I've been laying it out, I was all ready to launch the series, and Starship was kind of a major part of the inspiration, and it's not actually in the book, but it sort of inspires the book. And Starship 1 was a disaster. And I felt quite depressed after it, I think. It just obliterated the launch site. There was concrete flying everywhere, and it was like, what are these guys doing? They're a bunch of cowboys. And the whole thing blows up. And I thought, oh, this is not going anywhere. And I thought that I had this sort of 3-year timeline for Generation Moon based on what's going on with NASA Starship. That's gone down the line 10 years. But what happened last Thursday was just extraordinary. And there's a YouTube channel I watch called Marcus House. Click here, go and see it, it's great. And he really follows what's going on with Starship and other rocket programs. But he gets this drone footage with lots of people are watching Starship to see what's going on. So every week he's saying, oh, look, they've added this, they've added that. They've done this. And the rate of progress at SpaceX is just extraordinary. When you've got used to this sclerotic system at NASA, where it's all about safety, making sure that this job goes to that state, and and senators and stuff, and it's all politics. SpaceX just says, let's not talk about it, let's do it. Which, as you know, is kind of my motto. It is phenomenal what they are doing. And so there was SpaceX 2 kind of blew up, but you thought, actually, no, they're getting there, and they've state right from the start, if we get to this stage, we will be really happy. And so Starship 3, they'd sort of gone beyond what they'd ever hoped it to do. And I know the 2 sections didn't land, but that'll happen next time. They'll get it right. And in the same week, you got the Dragon going up with another space station crew. It's like a taxi now. It's just taking people up and down, taking cargo up and down. And the number, I think they did like 3 Falcon 9 launches last week. It's just an everyday occurrence. Probably safe as flying in an aeroplane now. I think if you're going off to the space station in a Dragon crew, now it's a job. It's become a job. It's adventurous, but you're not one of those big heroes anymore. You're not there are not big billboards with your photograph on them anymore. Whereas first people going on board Starship are heroes. The first people going back to the moon are going to be heroes. But thereafter, Once they start building a base station there, and once they first put that advert out saying, we need a cook, we need a cleaner, we need somebody to screw the light bulbs in, then it's become an adventure rather than an heroic mission. The people going to the moon the first time on Starship will be heroes. And they're the people who will go off bungee jumping knowing that they could die. People throwing themselves off cliffs in those wing things, they know they could die. People climbing into little boats in 16 something or other. Christopher Columbus sailing across the ocean. Leif Erikson sailing across the ocean. Those people sailed off into the blue, assuming that they would probably not come back, but they knew it was going to be an interesting adventure. They knew full well what the odds were of sort of not coming back. But they had faith and they believed that the world was round, and everybody thought they was crazy. But it was round, and they came back again, and they discovered new lands, which had already been discovered by other peoples, of course. But they brought the world together and made it a smaller place, as astronauts now are going out and making the universe, or certainly then the solar system, a smaller place. And that is the solar system in which I am building my trilogy Generation Moon. And that's what I should be doing now. I should be typing. Dum, dum, dum. I should be writing. And as I say, just having a camera on me doing that, it's going to be very, very boring. So this is what I'm doing instead. And then once I've finished, then I can start doing the drawings. And you will probably enjoy that bit a lot more because I'll start sharing all the drawing stuff with you again. As I say, let's not talk about it. Let's do it. That's what I'm going to do now. Thanks for watching. Do make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Take care.